I don't want anyone else to have to suffer the way we have, because it's hell. The hole that she's left behind is massive.
She loved music, she loved clothes, and she loved dressing up as a teenager, you know.
Yeah. She was always immaculate, even from a young age. She always did her hair, her makeup, clothes, just to go to the local bus stop.
Spend time with her friends, yeah.
Keely used to spend hours in the garden sitting, talking to the dog. We always thought she was going to be a vet when she grew up, because she just loved animals. So yeah, she wasn't particularly into dolls. So she liked a garage. She had a toy garage that she loved playing with. Every day after school she'd have her garage out. But yeah, it wasn't until she had the children that they became her life.
Yeah, she didn't really want to do anything else other than look after her children. She had moved to Derbyshire, and we'd lost contact with her to an extent. We knew where she was and she knew where we were, but we weren't in direct contact, and that surrounded, the situation with her marriage. She knew that we didn't like the guy, and she then had some problems, but didn't feel as if, she could come back directly to us when they separated. So it's quite a lot happened then, but we weren't aware of Anthony Davis until 2014-15.
Yeah.
And we didn't. You met him in 2000.
2017. So I didn't see him for a long time. She had her first child with him in 2015. Then she came and stayed with us a few times after that with the eldest boy. But then I didn't meet her till she was having her second son, and that's when I met Tony in the hospital when she was having the second one.
The sort of description given to us of him, bear in mind we hadn't met him, was that he was a decent, upstanding guy who, he worked hard.
She was settled. She seemed happy.
Had an amount of success financially and business-wise. She seemed to us to be settled and more relaxed than she was previously. But she was 150 miles away. So in hindsight, we now know that it was easy to disguise certain things when you only see someone once a month, every 2 or 3 weeks or whatever, and things are easy to disguise. But certainly at that time, we thought that Tony Davis was a good guy. We thought she was in a good place, and we thought her life was good.
I can remember it. A text message saying, "Sorry to do this to you. Keely's been seeing someone else. I'm devastated. Can you check the children are okay?" Obviously, working on what we were told. "Oh, Keely, what have you done?" So I phoned her, and she screamed at me down the phone, asking where Tony was. And I said, "I don't know. He's just texted me. Where is he?" And I said, "I don't know." And she just hung up on me. I never spoke to her again. I messaged him and said, "Keely wants to know where you are. Look, are the children okay? Just, I can't deal with this."
Yeah, you said you can't deal with this.
So he stopped messaging me and then started messaging you, didn't he?
So I then sent Tony a couple of messages on text, but say something along the lines of, we know that you're having a bit of a problem, having some problems. we know that you've been arguing, but please just make sure the children are fine, and if there's anything we can do to help, then let us know. And there was 2 or 3 messages along those lines between me and him, and each time he responded with, yeah, the children are fine, they'll be okay, we'll work this out. Nothing more was said, so between that last message and then just gone midday, I got a phone call. I knew that I was being set up for some bad news because he asked me, was I alone, was I driving? So straight away that I knew I was being set up for some bad news. But even then, I thought the bad news, in the split second that we were having this conversation, I was thinking, right, they split up. That is the bad news. Either he's kicked her out or Keely's left him. They're going to come and live down here, I guess. This is what he is regarding as bad news. So I knew I was being set up for it. And then he just said, Keely's passed away. And that wasn't what I was expecting. And my reaction was kind of, what? What? Say that again? And he said, she's died. And again, my reaction was confused again. It was, what? What do you mean? And then he said quite forcefully, I remember this quite distinctly, he said forcefully, she's dead. And I think I paused for a few seconds, and I think I said, well, how? Why? And he said something along the lines of, she's hurt herself badly. I don't know anymore, but the police are coming, and I'll tell you more when I know. That conversation lasted probably about 90 seconds, and I remember saying to Claire that even at the time I was struck by, he clearly wanted to get off the phone. And at the time, I suppose it was my thought process was it was an uncomfortable phone call for him. It was not a nice call to make to someone's parents. So again, plausibility. But I was quite struck by the fact that it was a minute or a minute and a half. The phone call, the message that you're told your daughter is dead. It just struck me as a bit short, a bit snappy, if you like. I asked him via text again. I was quite blunt. I said, is there any possibility that she didn't do this to herself? His response was, I'll let you know more when I've spoken to the police. That response raised a bit of alarm, but that wasn't the response I expected. I expected him to say, no, she's thrown herself down the stairs or she's done something. I expected a bit more of an explanation. So to be told, I'll let you know more when I've spoken to the police, just further raised the alarm, didn't it? Yeah. And then we tried to work out who it could have been. And quite quickly, I said to Claire, you don't think it could have been him, do you?
It was me that was calling everybody. Martin just didn't speak, did you? He just sat and didn't speak at all. I called Alex, who also lives about 100 miles away. It was the hardest thing to have to do, telling her over the phone. It was just horrible. I think she just said no quite a few times. Then had to get a hold of her husband to come and be with her because he was at work half an hour drive away. So she got him to come, and then I had to call her back, and I then spent the next 45 minutes on the phone to her, just talking. I don't know what we were talking about, but just keeping her occupied so that she wasn't on her own. She'd only just had a baby. Her daughter was only a couple of months old. So just trying to keep her occupied until her husband arrived. And then just having to let my sister know, my niece, just various family members, your mum, your sister. My mum is 93, and I had to go and tell her that evening. I thought, I'm gonna kill her as well because she's 93. Keely was everything to her. And telling her that, I thought, this is just going to be the worst day for everybody anyway, let alone potentially my mum going as well. And no family should have to go through what we've been through. I don't want anyone else to have to suffer the way we have, because it's hell. The hole that she's left behind is massive.